Hey, I'm Calvin Tiger with Bias STL, and today I'm with the extremely talented AJ Ward of Sleeping Cranes.
Thanks, man.
So, welcome. So, for those of you, or for those who don't know Sleeping Cranes, what genre of music is it?
I think indie folkish is kind of what I describe it as.
Okay.
I mean, not to compare myself to other bands, but the bands that have always influenced me have been, Bright Eyes, Iron and Wine, The Weaker Thans, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think the easiest explanation is just indie folk.
Indie folk.
Yeah.
Why do you play this kind of music?
I mean, I think it was what resonated with me and has resonated with me the longest. When I was in high school, played in emo bands, so Taking Back Sunday bands.
Sure. Yeah.
And had fun with that when I was in high school, but towards the end of high school I heard, Bright Eyes for the first time, those bands I just listed for the first time, and it really it resonated with me a lot and kind of put together a lot of things I'd always loved, like country music and acoustic music and music that was earnest and emotional, and no other genre I'd ever heard really did all those things.
The lyrics that you use are very poetic, actually, and very creative, and the vocabulary is very expansive.
Thanks.
It's not easy to put out something and feel oh, this is great on the first try, or this is something that came out of my head. Oh, let's expand upon it and write about it, and now I have a song within one day.
Totally.
That might happen sometimes. Does that happen?
Like those magical days where you have an idea and then you just spend 4 hours and you count it out and there it is and you're done. But it usually starts with an image that is particularly emotional for me for whatever reason. It's almost like that image is a piñata.
Okay.
And for the next several months I just bludgeon this image until this song kind of falls out for me.
Right.
So just going back to my notebook every day and seeing what I have and seeing other notes that I've made about similar things, and how can I write this in a way that is true to the experience that I'm trying to talk about and accomplishes me kind of exploring that experience and myself, and also doing it in a way that could resonate with other people. I guess I've always responded to words in both poetry and songwriting that I didn't expect. The unexpected stuff was always what made me pay attention. And so I guess I probably emulate that a lot with the writing, which I think is what kind of creates what you were talking about, trying to use as many different words as I can. And
so having, was that a total of 5 or 6?
Let's see. 5 releases.
Okay, so after 5 releases, compared to where you started, where do you feel like you are now?
Sometimes, and I'm sure you know this as a writer too, you get this feeling for whatever reason, the best days of writing are gone. I had it when I was 19, and now I don't know what happened, but it's all gone. And sometimes it's easy to fall in that trap, but at the same time, if you're ever feeling that way, you can just go back to what you wrote when you were 18 and then be like, oh no, I have gotten better. But I think sometimes I was poetically a little more creative when I was younger. But I think now, in terms of what I've learned from writing since I was 17 for Sleeping Cranes, is I think the conclusions that I come to in the songs and my ability to write things that are maybe a little less in my own head and a little more accessible have definitely happened.
It's almost like you're sharpening other parts of the blade.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it for sure.
Okay. So with the bands that you listen to, the music that influences you, or writers, or poets, how would you say that you've taken what they've given you and applied it to your music?
Oh, okay, yeah. Musically, I think it comes from a lot of places, and I don't think about it a whole lot. There are things sometimes where I do, but not quite as much. Whereas lyrically, I think like the Weaker Thans, John K. Sampson writes for the Weaker Thans. I think something I learned from what they do is he tells short stories in all of his songs, and he's very specific, and he has this kind of relationship with the place he's from, Winnipeg, Manitoba, that there's a specificity to it that is, even though I've never lived in Winnipeg, and so many people who listen to the Weaker Thans have never lived in Winnipeg, the specificity is almost counterintuitively very accessible because you have your own things that are specific that way. I like playing with like turns of phrases and kind of, turning a phrase on its head, and I think Bright Eyes is Conor Oberst is really good at doing things like that, drawing attention to words and ideas by rearranging them. John Steinbeck, his Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, Cannery Row, and Travels with Charlie, like, I love everything John Steinbeck has written, and a lot of people think, or not a lot of people, but I've met people who think he can be pretty gratuitous in the way he describes things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I might be a little gratuitous in the way I describe things, but that's something that I really respond to, like that dedication to creating the setting and creating the environment, and making sure you're precise with how you present it.
Yeah, you want it to be, you want to display the photo as you remember it.
Yeah, totally.
And that's important. It's important to be creative and particular and to articulate it that way, the way you want it to be. So how did you come up with the band name, Sleeping Cranes?
Sleeping Cranes? I wish there was a good story. There's not. I was like 16 or 17, and I knew that I wanted to do kind of, just what I'm doing, like acoustic type stuff, solo stuff, and didn't want to go by AJ Ward because, I don't know, I was like embarrassed, I guess, of like being my own thing. And it was just like on a walk one day. I had been reading a lot of Stephen Crane at the time, so that word was kind of in my head, and then like I was just going through like adjectives, and Sleeping Crane popped into my head, and I was like, that's it, there it is.
How would you describe your lyrical style?
Usually when I'm like being candid and somebody asks, too many words is how I describe it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
A lot of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it honestly sometimes feels a little more like I'm writing poems and setting them to songs, setting them to music, than like songwriting. But yeah, probably leans a little more toward like the prosy side of lyricism, I guess.
Sure, that makes total sense. And a lot of your songs, they sound like a self-examination is going on, or maybe a realization of your surroundings. Would you say you write these from your perspective, or are they fiction? Are they from someone else's perspective?
Probably like, yeah, they're all written from my perspective. I'm not sure how much of an authority on myself I am yet.
Right,
so like speaking for other people, even if they're characters, they represent a type of person.
Yeah.
But I think writing for me a lot is trying to learn something about myself, and not being able to run from it kind of the way you can in your head sometimes when you're just thinking about something or a situation that makes you, feel a certain way. You can be in your head and you can kind of run from it, but if you have to kind of hammer it out and have it on paper and play it, you can, kind of hold it there and make yourself look at it and hopefully, at least when I write, learn something about the situation and whether it's how I really feel or like understand it better